Hello again everybody, welcome to another video and a slightly different one. I don't usually do sets on their own, just Meccano sets where I've built a model with and review the set as a whole and the model build. That will come with this one, but not for quite some time. There's still quite a few in the pile. We have here a Meccano No.6 set. Bought off Evil Bay about 2 weeks ago, and I'll say now it's been restored. To quote the listing, the gold and blue parts have been expertly restored, and the other parts are in the main excellent. Now, I'm no expert. I haven't looked at the parts too detailed. It all is restrung, as you'll see shortly. It looks a pretty good job to me. I'm not overly bothered that it's not mint. I wouldn't normally buy reproduced or renovated parts, repaints, unless the price is right. In this case, it looks to be a complete set. I haven't counted the parts yet, but it looks to be complete apart from the screwdriver. Looks a reasonable job, and for the price I paid I thought it was worth a punt, which I did, and I won it, and I'm quite pleased with it. It's very pretty to look at. Okay, some of the paintwork might not be original by the sound of things, which I knew before I put a bid in. So, without further ado, let's take the lid off and have a look inside. As you can see, we've got the instruction book. Who knows whether it's the original? It's not a reprint, it's an original Meccano one, but who knows whether it's the original for the set. The date on the instruction book is December 38, which goes with the colour scheme. Of course, before this, the boxes from 34 to 37, instead of having numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so on, they were letters. This is from the period when they went back to the numbers from 37 onwards. Looking at the livery and doing a bit of research, I think for the most part, at least this tray, we'll have a look at the tray below shortly, the parts of the correct livery, i.e. the smalls like trunnions and things like that, are now red, where they would have been gold. However, for the wheels to match the period of red parts, the wheels should be red centres. I think it is. I've written it down somewhere. Yeah, wheels with red centres and white tyres. So, okay, going on the instruction book date, 1938. It's quite late on though. Maybe it's transitional a little bit. Don't know. It doesn't really matter from the point of it will be used in my case. I always like to use mine. Yes, it looks very nice, all strung in together, and in some ways you don't want to touch it, but I buy them to build with them eventually anyway. So there's the top tray. You can see smalls in red, strips, girders in gold. They do look to have been resprayed, but as I say, it looks alright. The blue and gold, it's a bit too awkward to put the cross hatching on, although it is possible. Looks like they've just been cleaned up, but you know, I've got some stuff that's really rough and I would use that as well for certain things. So let's have a look at the bottom tray. Put this one to one side. And here, the blue and gold certainly looks to be a bit better finished off. That one looks like it's been redone. Of course, the cross hatching can be done with one of those very fine gold pens. I wouldn't like to do it myself. It's a bit too much like fiddly hard work. What I have just noticed, some of the flexible plates have round corners and these are squared off, which I did read about it, but I think by this period That one's squared off as well, and that one is. By this period, the rounded corners had come in full time. Again, maybe it points to a transitional period. I'm guessing, I haven't checked the parts list at all, I'm guessing that that pulley should be red. And I do have some red ones if I need to. The tyres, well, they are hard, but they look not to be cracked, at least this side. Again, I have some spares that are a bit worse for wear than that. But overall, a pretty decent looking set. I haven't checked, as I say, the parts. It looks to be pretty complete. The restringing, I'm no expert on it. I have tried it once myself. It's very awkward. The restringing looks to be normal. In fact, it might be even thinner than normal Meccano cord if we go on that cord being right. I'm not sure. Looks a bit thin to me. Perfectly usable though. I thought that would have been thicker cord to string them all on. And the original listing was quite truthful to be honest. Well, was totally truthful really. It says that the boards are not original. The cardboard boards, the bases that it's strung to, are not original. I'm no real expert on the exact ins and outs of changes in colours and technical details and all that. I've read quite a bit. Some of it sticks in the brain box, some of it doesn't. But overall it looks a decent set. So there's the top tray. I haven't touched anything, I haven't opened any boxes. There could be nothing in the boxes as far as I know. They may not be complete, of course nuts and bolts, we all miscount those. We'll wait and see. But it is quite pleasant to look at. It's a box of treasure. It makes me want to just dive in. And others would say, no, don't, leave it alone. Well, of course, it's not all original paintwork, so that's something against it from that point of view. And a lot less lost if you do use it and you do scratch it or damage a part. But it looks nice to me. It's a picture of delights, if you like. It's just a box of treasure. I know people wouldn't say, you know, okay, it's been restored, but if it was mint new, they'd say, no, don't touch it. But oh, that urge to dive in and make something, you know, I get overcome with that sometimes. But this set will have to wait a bit because there's plenty more in the queue. Meccanoity's round the corner, and if you didn't know, it's the 2nd, 3rd and 4th of May 2015. The annual 3-day exhibition of the Telford and Ironbridge Meccano Society at Ingenuity, Coalbrookdale, Shropshire. That's near Ironbridge. I'll put a link in the description, but you can find out about it on the internet just by putting in Meccanoity. You should get something quite easily on Google. So here's a more close-up view of the bottom tray. And as you can see, all the flexible plates, that's these squares, these curved, slightly larger plates there, they're all square corners, same as these up here, all square corners. Whereas the only one that's round, now I look a bit closer, and I suppose this is the first time I've really had a good look in the boxes. The only round plate is a hinge plate, that's in the top tray, so if you want to rewind and have a look at that. All the plates, flexible plates, are squared corners. Now I would have thought, if the instruction book is right, and that's a big if, you would have thought 1938 they would all be rounded corners on the flexible plates. Of course it could be transitional, of course. I don't know how much time a transitional period was at that time, you know, using up certain parts to make up the sets. Could it don't make any difference. A bit more sharp, literally, perhaps, but just take care. So we've got a bit of a thing going on here now. The gold and red wheels, the main wheels in the top tray, match the period, at least in part, of these squared off, square cornered flexible plates. But the box which is a numbered box, not a lettered box, and the instruction book seem to match. Is it 6 of one and half a dozen of the other? Who knows? It doesn't really matter, I suppose. It'd be nice to know, but you'd never get a definite answer. The other thing I've noticed just looking now, and this is really the first time I've got my head right into the box, or boxes, most of the parts seem to have one stamping on, i.e. Meccano only. So, for example, this 5-hole strip here, these pulleys on these wheels, these long strips have it there and there. That one has Meccano made in England, so I presume that's 60s, and it should be, I presume that should have been red. That's probably just put in to make the box up. But there is certainly one double bent strip. It's got Meccano above the hole, and there's another 7-hole strip here, and it's got made in England underneath the hole, like from the 60s. So maybe they've been reincorporated. If you rewind back to the top tray, you should be able to see those. But for the, at least on the top, of course, some of the parts are layered, as you can see. They all look stamped correctly. Now I'm guessing that because I've never really looked into the stampings that much. We do know that it's fairly easy. Recent times, Meccano with the N in brackets at the end for Nyko, even though they don't own it anymore, they're still stamped like that. But of course not all parts are stamped now, and some other parts are stamped with the part number. But yeah, there's a little bit going on. It's almost like the parts are from a lettered period box, say what is it, 34 to 37 for the most part, but the small parts being in red are from 37 to 41, I suppose. That said, there's a bit of a mix and match of livery here. As it's been restored, it could have been restored incorrectly, of course. When I say restored, to me, I think for the most part it's just the gold that has been restored. I haven't done that much research on the variants of the blue and gold, just a quick look. Maybe I'll get into that a little bit more, but yeah, the stamps are a rather odd thing to look at, I suppose, but certainly interesting and a way of narrowing down things a bit, I suppose. There's only, I mean, really, there's only about 3 parts that I would say that you can see that are from probably the 60s, to be honest, because of the stamps. But a good set, I think, a good building set anyway. Nothing to worry about if you damage anything. And I bet you may be wondering, how much it cost. Well, you can pay a fortune on Evil Bay for some things, and sometimes they're not worth it. Joe Bloggs, who hasn't got a clue, comes along, sees something and thinks, oh, I'll have that. And there's only so much you can do with some of the stuff, and some of it is piles of rust. This has been nicely done. I don't think it's perfect by any means, but nicely done. A decent representation of a, oh, let's bite the bullet, transitional period maybe. Who knows? There's a few newer bits in it, I think. But it looks to be all there. And I suppose the only way with these sets is to get the parts out to count. And I don't want to take it off the boards yet until I want to use it. So the only thing missing is a screwdriver. It's not in the blue wrapping on the top tray from the quick grope I've had with that. But it was 69 quid and a tenner post. It is quite weighty, as you can probably appreciate. Which I think that's fair. How much would a mint one never used, never taken out the box be? I don't know the value of the blue and gold, to be honest. I don't know the value of much of it really. It's all pretty much guesswork. But I'd have thought, I don't know, dealer price 150, 200 quid if it was mint, never used. Maybe more than that. I've seen some used number 8s in blue and gold, and that was 475, and the parts are all just tied up or taped up or maybe even tied up with string, and just put in the box, not strung, although it looked all there, and that was 475 quid. Of course you pay more to dealers, I suppose, and you can pay more on eBay, or sometimes you can pay less. So yeah, I would have thought if it was mint, a couple of £100, certainly. It's not mint. I probably wouldn't have bought it if it was, unless it was a very keen price. Collecting's not my thing. Building is. So I can't really grumble. It's a lot of parts for 69 quid, there's no doubt about that. And the box is pretty good. It might have been glued here and there, but I don't think it's had any major repairs. But a nice set. So there is the set in its entirety, and very pretty it looks indeed. It may not be exactly correct. It may not be all original paintwork, but it looks a pretty good job to me. Can't complain. It must have been great to receive something like this in the 30s for Christmas, and it must have been quite expensive. No idea what the prices were then, but a fine toy, and probably state-of-the-art toy then, along with model trains, Hornby trains of course. And at this time you'd have had the 00 as well as the clockwork O gauge. Great toys. Of course not much in the way of competition from anything else then. Not like today. But it must have been great to receive a toy like this, just opening it and looking at the models you can build. I know a lot of people don't like, or some people don't like this colour scheme, the blue and the gold. I do, I like it. As a change, I don't know what my favourite colour is. I think I've said before that I think you tend to err towards the colours that you used as a kid. For me, I like several colour schemes. I'm a bit fed up of red and green at the moment because that's all you generally seem to see. Well, not all. It does seem to be the majority, and some of it's in fantastic condition, but you get a bit same old, I suppose. So it's nice to see blue and gold, and there's been some lovely models recently. I forget the chap's name, but he's made some great set models from parts that he's managed to salvage from rough parts, clean up and use again, and they look very, very good. Myself, I'm probably more the zinc and yellow and blue, because that's the colours I had when I was a kid, although they were old when I was a kid myself. But nice to have a bit of change, and these look great. Of course the blue and gold, certainly the gold, doesn't look very good when it's tatty, it looks awful, but there we are. But I remember my dad telling me he had a set which would have been, I think, around about, it might have been 1950-51. There's a bit of conjecture with my uncle. He says it was a set 7 with a 7A added, and it was supposed to be a Christmas present, but because of the times it took longer to come, and it was just left in the open front door in the hall when they come back from school, and there it was. Now my dad said it was a 6 made into a 7. My uncle said 7 made into an 8. A 6 could have been pre-1950. But for the larger sets we would have had to wait till I think it was 1950 onwards, because the maximum sets for the home market was 6, I believe, if I remember that right. But it must have been great to have a set. I mean, you look at the sort of angelic smiley faces on the box. You know, I remember opening a second-hand Hornby 00 set, 15 years ago, and I was that kid on Christmas morning on the box, even though I'd had Hornby 00 before. Well, not Hornby 00, the modern stuff, Hornby 00, shall we say, and Triangle and all that. But it was great, and this must have been horrendously expensive at the time. I don't know how that compares to modern games consoles and stuff like that, but perhaps interesting to see and work that out. But there you go, the set in its entirety. I'll waffle again a bit too much. I suppose the good point is a bit more waffle means a bit more data to upload, and I can test the new internet connection, which is 4 or 5 times faster than the last one. Unfortunately for you people, that means more videos. Bye for now.